Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, second on the agenda. Caleb, this is your time to shine. You're very good and you're very useful. Thank you for all you do.
You're such an expert.
Thank you.
Is this an employee eval that we're missing part?
So Mary is on, we're gonna do Mary's oath of office because she is going to be on for another 3-year term.
Good.
Should we go?
Over by the flag?
That's right.
Yeah. Thoughts? Okay, so hold up your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
Mary Larson,
do solemnly swear that
I will faithfully perform the duties of a planning commissioner for the city of Baldwin fairly and ethically, befitting the responsibilities of the office. I will support the comprehensive plan, ordinances, and policies of the city of Baldwin and all other applicable laws. I will honor the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Minnesota. I swear to not knowingly receive any money or other valuable thing related to being a planning commissioner, directly or indirectly, other than allowed by law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Caleb.
You pushed the snowball and it just rolled. Very good. Very good.
Works.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Find a new word.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Present?
Commissioner Coffrin.
Present.
We also have the mayor.
Here.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
And our city planner, Mr. Blake.
Present.
Perfect. Okay, everybody turn in their claim forms? Got them all, Kayla? Perfect. Okay, B, approval of the agenda. I would like to do 2 additions, please. Under D, new business, 1 instead of none. We're going to get a brief infrastructure informational from our mayor. And then I guess I don't have to, and that would be it. I don't have to add the Norwalk conversation. So just the 1, the infrastructure under new business.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as approved or as amended.
Good. We have a
I'll second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, approved with that 1 addition. Okay, C, approval of the meeting minutes. Planning Commission special meeting on March 11th of 2026. Everybody had a chance to look that over? Saw anything that needs to be corrected? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Planning Commission special meeting minutes of March 11th, 2026.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the Planning Commission special meeting minutes of March 11th, 2026 for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, meeting minutes approved from our planning special commission meeting on March 11th, 2026. Okay, that brings us to D, new business, infrastructure, some information, and that will come from our mayor, Mr. Shelton.
All right, guys, I don't want to take up too much time, Mr. Chair. Thank you for letting me hijack your meeting. At the last meeting, I was asked for an update on the infrastructure committee and those things and where they are, whatever. So here's where we're at, just so you know. You guys have some cartoons that I did here, whatever, that have come to you. They all make me laugh, so it doesn't matter. It can have a .00000 minus, it still makes me laugh. Anyway, and so what we've done here, what I wanted to try and do, the infrastructure committee had asked us for numbers, and we know roughly what we think a new building is going to cost. And I didn't think we were going to do our due diligence for the people unless we did kind of a deep dive on what it would actually take to redo this building to be something we could live in for another 20 years. right? And so if we can't give those numbers to the people, whatever, then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, because I know I would ask for them. If I was going to this, I would want to know. So basically, if we look at that, if you got, this one, if you didn't get this one. This is the room here that we're sitting in right now. If we look at this piece of paper, I think you got a smaller copy. This is the lot. This is our lot. This is what we have to work with, whatever. These are the setbacks. Everything is to scale, and so you have some kind of an idea. This from here to here is 100 feet. So what we would do, right now, we have our room set up like this with our board table like that, and that kind of thing. And this actually is maintenance right through that whole thing. Got Kayla's office, got Joan's office, and we got a storage area there, right? So now if you take a look at this one, we'll try and do that. And what we'll do is we will remove this door. That door will be gone. We will add a door into here. That is an entry door, like a regular glass door and a glass panel, whatever. This will be key card locked and the whole deal, because that's what part of the bringing it all up to speed is going to be. Then what we would do is we'd take the actual meeting room, whatever, and move it out to the first bay in the maintenance building. So then what would happen in here now, this door no longer exists, but this is our main entryway. So as we come in, come to the left, there would be a service counter right there, a new wall right there, if you will, whatever, that people could come to. Right now, as they come in, now we have another door that'll come into a newly defined area that'll be between that wall and that wall. We'll have a conference room, because one thing that happened with the ladies is if we have a meeting in here in midday with planners or with developers or engineers or whatever, you know, the discussions we have makes it impossible for them to hear on the phone and do those kind of things, whatever, and do their jobs, right? So if we add a door here, right now, if we look at this, there would be another glass window that would be put in here. I would think from that column over to the wall would be all glass. Right, we'll leave that glass window in there here as well, that kind of a thing here. So now, somebody does come in here, either Joan, and I was talking with Joan and Kayla today, and they made flip-flop places, so Joan is here and Kayla's there, but they can see through the windows when the people are there and come and help. Right, so now, then what that gives us, that's this, the bathrooms pretty much stay the same. We're gonna be looking at the people who really know what the heck they're doing to find out what those bathrooms are gonna need to be brought up to code. None of them are handicapped, none of them are accessible by all that'll have to happen. We don't know what that's gonna be yet. This room here, this lets us put 60 people right here. And this is usually the room that we always used for our annual meeting anyway. Right, so I mean, there it is. And if we do have a dais here, whatever, and then we can put the AR plate and all that kind of thing, so it's bulletproof and we can duck down behind that if need be. You notice there's 9 chairs up here, because this is where you guys will meet as well. You know what I mean? Especially if you have people coming in, whatever, that kind of a thing, developers, whatever, or those kind of things, that's where you guys will be meeting as well. So there's 7 of you, and then a planner and a liaison, and then we're probably gonna have to have something here, whatnot, for a clerk kind of a thing or whatever. But with that thought, then we also have our video screens here, 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 and here, so that people can see that all good. Right? So we're set up. So now that takes care of that. Now right here, these are 2 12-by-12 garage doors. So what I would suggest we're gonna do here is we're gonna put a man door here on both sides. These 2 doors, and fill the rest of the holes all the way up 12 feet with glass. So it'll be all windows. So everything in here will get nice light during the day. Obviously in the evening doesn't matter, but at least light during the day. That'll help a ton. Okay, and then so these doors will remain locked during the day. They can always open, right, from the inside out, but they'll remain locked. So this will be the only entrance. They have an escape door here. This door already exists in what is there. This door here probably would be added just in case if anyway, right, I don't even want to talk about that, but if need be, anyway, there's the room. So that would be the change of this room that would probably get us 20 years down the road. You know what I mean? It's because, so we have whatever, also, and you see on here as well here, so a service counter, we have a desk here planning. There's sometimes when Dan comes here, he'll spend a day, whether you're dealing with a developer or people or just things, whatever, so we can have a spot for him as well. As we grow, we're gonna need more of that. Building, same thing, our building inspector, whatnot, he has a desire sometimes to be here talking with people rather than in his office in St. Francis. So if that happens, then he can be there as well. And then, of course, we have all of this to do and whatever it is we really want to do. Okay, then we have this one here. And this one here then would be another 80 by 80 addition put on that end of the building for maintenance. Right, so basically this exists, this is 116 feet from here to here, whatever, so we're gonna do another 80 by 80 addition, 6,400 square feet there. And so with 4 doors that are on there and 2 doors in the back, this still fits with all of this. If you look at this, we have an entrance for a driveway coming in here, and this new addition whatnot fits over into that, but we have room to move the drive farther east, whatever, so this works. Right, so we can fit her all in there. Okay.
You drive through that because you looks like you
Yes.
fit.
Yes. So what this would be, there would be 4 doors on this end of it. And these would be, so these are 12 by 12 doors. All of these are 12 by 12s. These would wind up being 14 by 14s, which is what the fire department's got over there. Right? So there'd be 4 doors on this end and 2 doors on that end. So if this becomes a wash bay, we talked about wash bays and things like that, and whatever they're gonna need for the trucks, they will literally be able to drive through here and out there where they could, either way they wanna go. Right, so, no, salt storage, the salt shed that's existing out there, it's rotting away anyway, whatnot, it probably needs to be redone. Well, it can't really be here if we've got doors coming out to it anyway, so that would move over to here. One thing that's not on here are the fuel tanks that are right here, and they would move, and on this plan, right over to here. So now our plow trucks can come out and get them, our fire trucks can come and fuel and do all that, and now we take them and we move them away from the building and we put them over here, way away from the building. They're fuel. Right now we have them right next to the building. That's a bad deal.
So you make them legal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm glad you
Well,
said
they're
first.
perfectly fine until we get caught. Anyway, okay, so,
You already have.
and then so now here's the fire department, right? And here's a little bit of a picture of the fire department. And so what I'm going to propose at this point in time is this piece is the existing fire department. So I have taken these 3 bays and duplicated them to the south. So each one of these on here, I don't know if you can read, well, yeah, you got the same size here, is an 8-foot by 33-foot fire truck. So literally we'll have plenty of room, if you will, whatever, in the building, whatnot, to get all the fire apparatus. So one thing that I don't have on here, you guys all have seen it, probably have seen it, whatnot, is there's an upstairs over all the offices and bathrooms and those kind of things. And so what we could think about doing from the fire standpoint is moving some of this apparatus over here and leaving this as a training bay, because it's right out by turnout gear and all those kind of things. Sorry, I'm going deeper than I thought I was gonna go here. But at any rate, and then we can knock some holes in the wall on the second floor or whatever, and then we can put a mezzanine up there and we can rappel and they can train and they can do all the kind of things. And because the one thing that they don't have is a place to do all of this, especially in the winter. Right, and so now what that also happens too, we move this down, the septic system is right here. So basically what we're going at is, this is gonna be what we're gonna live in for the next 20 years. Right, so it doesn't really matter that the septic system is there, that septic system's just gonna get moved farther south. Right, because by the time we dig up any of these septic systems, when you think about what we're gonna do in this building, they're all gonna need to be replaced anyway. You know what I mean, whatever, so we move that south. And this fits here. The cell tower, we have a lease for, with a company for the cell tower. The name just escaped me, but at any rate. And so what they also have here is they have a, an easement, if you will, because all of their electric and cords and lines, whatever, come in from there. So if we do this, move that over there, then this keeps their easement just as good as what they had, whatever, and we honor that contract. Okay. That's really about it, because, no, absolutely, go for it.
2 questions. One, when you move that septic south of the building, would you move it even further to allow for possible expansion?
Probably.
And then second part of the first question is, on the north half, you mentioned about possibly knocking out mezzanine, but is there going to be remodeling to remodel that north half existing, or will that just kind of be left as is?
The next step for this, get your reaction. You know, 2 of you guys are on the infrastructure committee, the other one runs it. You know what I mean? And so this is part of what's going on. The whole point the whole point was the motion that was made from the infrastructure committee that Teresa actually made, you know, was get a number on what it's gonna cost to bring this building up to code. That doesn't do any of this. You know what I mean? And we're looking 20 years down the road, you know? And so in order to do that and have what we would need to do, if we build a new building, which is the other half of what they're looking at, you know what I mean? All of this is gonna be incorporated into all of those plans, whatever, for whatever that is gonna be.
Public Works wouldn't.
Correct.
Public
Public
Works
Works
would
is
stay.
not, right? So if we built a new building, then obviously none of this would happen. And probably that wouldn't happen either, but Public Works could possibly move over into this building, the old fire station, if you will, whatever. You know what I mean? And have plenty enough room in here, or maybe this addition still does happen to get enough room for Public Works as well. And then we can think about selling this, right? We still have our easement from the cell tower that comes through here that we'd have to deal with, but anything is possible. All of this is just to get the people a quality number on what it would actually take to make this something we could live in for the next 20 years.
That's my second question. That new thing for 20 years looks to me very small. Because when you actually take and put a table here and you give Dan a spot to work and you give our planner, why has it been looked at to possibly add out this way and put in an additional 16 to 20 feet here? Then that would give us, because if this is 20 years, we say we need to have another treasurer or we need to add some office staff. Well, all of a sudden, okay, let's double up here and put 2 people in here. If we just create, if we're going on a 20-year plan and you add enough here to make this bigger, and we can always then have a whole nother empty office here or 2, has that been looked at?
No, you are the first ones to give me, besides Kayla and Joan this morning.
Yeah.
And Mary saw them as well. Whatever, you were the first ones to see that.
Yeah.
So this is where we go. So my thoughts are the next step is, this will go to the council meeting on next Wednesday, just to look at this. I shouldn't say that. Things are already in place. I've got Scott Case, our fire chief in the fire department, looking over this and telling me whatever was in the Brunton plan and the new building, all the things we need for firefighting and whatnot, they need to be incorporated into this when we do that. So what is that? List that for me, all the things that need to be here, because then once we have an agreement, then yes, we think this could make it 20 years. Now we'll actually go out for bids, whatever, or at least budgetary proposal, numbers, whatever, on what it costs to take what we're at here now and bring it up to this, whatever that is. Right? Whether we think that, I mean, literally, if we see that as a $7 million number, or a $9 million number, or a $10 million number, then at least we have those numbers to compare it to. You know what I mean, for what the new construction is, right? And when I take things, just like throwing a couple of screens there so everybody can see what's going on, you know what I mean? That's easy to incorporate in a new building, that just happens while the electricians are running the wires. Well, this is all remodeling, so we know what happens when we start to remodel. And if we suddenly get into someplace there, whatever, where, you know, there's a half a dozen or more poles that are rotted off in the ground, $1,000 a pole times 30 poles, whatever, anyway, right? So we won't know that, but they may be able to tell us that. Anyway, so one, yes, you may.
So one of the questions I have is, isn't there a well that we have for the
Oh,
fire
yeah.
department? And
So,
isn't
I'm
that,
not sure where, I haven't gone out to look to see to find it, but there's 2 tanks right here. Now,
Okay.
these 2 tanks, we have a holding tank underground here.
Yeah, I
The
remember that.
Original thoughts were that was gonna hold water and we'd be able to pump that out, whatever, into the trucks to fill the tender trucks or the water trucks. That never came to fruition,
Okay.
doesn't work anyway, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So there's a holding tank under here, and I believe there's some drains in the floor, and this was the holding tanks or the tanks for the drains that are in the floor.
okay,
I know that the actual septic systems, whatnot, are right here, and
Sure.
but I do believe the well is over here on this side.
okay.
And then the service entrance for the power is over here on this side of the building, and also too, the septic's up here, and the well is somewhere in here as well, whatever, so we wouldn't touch any of that.
Go ahead.
No, you
Was it well or, because I'm changing directions after that. Was it, okay.
go ahead.
I know another question that I've had from multiple people comes down to the voting. Because at first, the west side gets this itty bitty little room and the line was a mile long.
Oh, yeah.
And the east
Yes.
side gets the big room over there and they had no wait whatsoever and people were so angry about that.
And we
And
talked
if
about
we
that.
do this,
This would be
how are we
precinct
voting?
one. So all the entrance would be here.
Okay,
Right, this would be precinct 1, this would be precinct 2, as much as we would take out of that. So precinct 1 is going to about double in size, all these chairs would be gone,
Sure.
whatever, and then voting booths put in there.
okay,
And so here, and so we're also up against another thing too. So with the size we are, we have about 4,000 registered voters. When you get up to 2,400 voters, whatnot, per precinct, the state says that's about as big as you need to be in a precinct, right? So we're on the verge
I'm going to
of
three
adding a third
precincts.
precinct as we will. So what that do, 1, 2, and 3. Or 1 and 2, and maybe the church over here for a different precinct, right? So it's not all as
The
big.
new church.
Because parking
Oh,
becomes
this
an
one right
issue.
here.
No,
Oh,
right
it is.
here, eternity.
Oh, I was thinking the new one on the other side,
No, eternity.
169.
And it could be, yeah, because that could be precinct 3, whatnot, which is most of the west side, and then split the east side into two, or the west side, I mean, into two. Put the east side over there.
Because parking was an issue
It'd be nice if
too,
the east
so,
side was on the east side, and
yeah,
the west side had these two.
Guaranteed that jump.
And I bet you the church they would work with us for sure.
They would.
Oh, I know.
I know that was a.
We're not at that point yet, but as we grow,
No,
whatever,
but
we're
that
gonna
was,
get.
I had people who were saying, build new so the voting works better. I went,
Anyway, this,
I don't
this
know.
basically
I'm not
all
there
was
yet.
just so we can put, and so Brunton is the name of the contractor that we've been dealing with so far on the fire hall. Actually on, quote, the new building, because that's the fire hall and the city hall and all the things, meeting room and the whole deal. Now, the one thing that this does not do, even this, is, we had talked about, and there has been, geez, for years, there was a community development program a bunch of years ago, and people were asking for a community center. You know what I mean? They thought that was one thing that was gonna be a good thing to have. And so what we thought about and what we have done, what we see in the plans of the new building is, the meeting room, if you will, is partitionable, you know what I mean? And large enough to be able to, quote, rent out for something as need be. You know what I mean? This kind of a thing. Really, this is too, but it's not nearly as big as what we had thought about doing. But if we got rid of these chairs, because this is 42 by 42, right? So this piece, whatnot, is about as big as this whole building. Take the offices out, take all of that out. So it could be a room, but not anything like we're talking about. We're not talking about putting any kind of a kitchen in there, not in here anyway, but a kitchen in there or whatever, or any kind of anything if you're gonna hold that type of deal, so that still is left. The other side of that is this really looks good. I mean, to me, it looks awesome. We can, give ourselves here, but we're still building pole barns. Whatever numbers we get from this, we're still building pole barns, right? And so this one here, so I think the ceiling height in the fire department is like 14 feet or 16 feet, right? So, and we're in here and out there is 10. So we can't open the boxes on the trucks or whatever. That was another thing was the thought, okay, can we do that? So tomorrow Zach is gonna run one of them out and raise the box and see but I think 18 feet is gonna clear with a box all the way open, completely open. We don't have end dumps, we just got tandem axle dump trucks. So if that's the case, this is also going to be raised, it's an 18-foot ceiling height, let's just use that for a number here. Well, we're also gonna have to then get back, I know the engineers are gonna say this, back into this roof here to beef that up for snow load because we have a vertical wall here now above the gable end on this. So no matter what we do trying to add on to this, there's still gonna be a bunch of remodeling. You know what I mean? What we had proposed here for this piece here, whatnot, that's a lot of remodeling. You know what I mean? But there's still gonna be remodeling just to add that. And then the firefighters are working now. I see there's a group of them over there. You must have got a hold of a bunch of them to come and look at this because I sprung them on it this afternoon. Because I would like to have this done, get the changes done, and then bring this back to the council next Wednesday. You know what I mean? Just to say, barring any huge hiccups that we see, this is something that we can use or whatever. I doll it up some more dimensions and things like that so we know what it's actually gonna be. Now, when we go out for a request for quote or request for bid, what does it take to turn this building into that? Now, at least we'll have some fairly legitimate numbers. You know what I mean? To compare this to that.
Like, question, with the size of this one right here, and if you mentioned it's 42 by 42, so
Yes.
that's over 1,600 feet. What if we build something new, let's just say the new one is,
40 by 60.
whole building's 40 by 60?
No, the meeting room would be 40 by 60.
So if the new building is 5,000 square feet. This year it's 3,500. Then we should say, well, then we definitely need to add on because if we're going to build new for the next
The
20 years.
new one has 2 stories proposed. So it has room for expansion because it's 2 stories.
Yeah, so if all of a sudden we're saying that's our 20-year plan is having all of that, but then if we're gonna stay here, it's like, well, let's just cram in here for 20 years. That's not, that doesn't make sense.
Correct.
To me, it makes sense to say, if we're for 20 years, we need room for growth because we're gonna grow. And as we grow, if we need more people, we already say, well, we'll just stick Dan in a little half chair here and we'll have Andy or his people come in instead of the little chair there. And it's like, well, we own this area. I mean, if we can knock out or add on the back, or the back doesn't make sense with the roof line, but adding an extra even 12 feet on the end, you could put 2 rooms, the conference room there or do whatever. But this here, when you add a wall here, somewhere between his foot and that chair, if you're this wall that's going up here for the service counter, well, now all of a sudden you're gonna put, you said there's all that room, well, Dan's little desk is gonna be right off of where Bruce is sitting. And then if you have a building person going over there, it's like suddenly it's like, there's not a lot of room at all here for people around. There's 0 room for expansion, so. So yeah, that's on my soapbox, just saying.
No, and
Rather
this,
be too big and we grow into, because we're gonna grow.
this is why I want to put cartoons like this in front of people, everybody, so they can see all that, because yes, if we did all of this, we could shoehorn ourselves into it and probably make it another 20 years. But 10 to 12 years from now, I'll guarantee you we'll have this conversation again. You know, what do we do with our almost 20-year-old pole building? You know what I mean? And what are we doing? So anyway, I want that, but I think I've said this 3rd time now. You know, if we don't have something like this for us to look at, something like this to actually look at, to try and bid for what would maybe make us live sort of comfortably for 20 years. You know what I mean? I think the infrastructure committee's shooting itself in the foot by just giving them new numbers and not an in-depth something here.
And I agree with that. I agree with, you know, it's closer to an apples comparison, but I think where Clarence is going, and this is kind of where, if you also remember, before I made the motion to look at this, I made the motion to build.
Uh-huh.
You know, and when I sat on the infrastructure committee meeting, I walked in there going, we're not spending $17 million on a new building, and I'm gonna put a kibosh on this because I don't want my taxes to go up. And I've completely changed my opinion. One of the reasons, and this would be my I'm not opposed to this particularly. There's things to be said that we can do here versus building new. It all depends on how those numbers come out. But my concern with this goes right back to your comment about pole barns. If we are a community and we are a brand new community, and one of the things as sitting on planning commission that I think is part of our charge is to grow our community and grow our community in the right direction. And one of the ways to do that is to sell our community.
Set the example.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And so it needs to have, what do we have that draws a business here? And especially given the fact that we don't have public utilities, which I totally get, we're never having those because that's part of the good part too, and I'm not arguing that, but we need something else that helps bring economic development to the city. And I'm not sure that pole barns
Or the right message.
are the right way to go, especially if we've been working on our documents that say the city is supposed to. And again, I know Dan will say, how did you put it? We can,
He can do what he wants.
but we're supposed to set an example, I think.
Not be a container city?
So I'm not opposed to this, but I want to know what it's gonna look like. I like the idea of the glass front and some improvements along that
Well,
line.
there was no
I
reason-
don't like the idea of a pole barn.
No, there was no reason for me to do any elevation views.
Not yet, I know.
If we wind up, what did they say? No, we want to add on this way too. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that's, you know, and if that's what we want to do, that's what I want the council, that's what I want the infrastructure committee, that's what I want the group to say. This is what we want to see. You know what I mean? So then I'll do some elevations and things like that as well.
Agreed. I'm just
You know what I mean?
giving
And
you
we could
where,
have some, and what do the facades
direction
look
to
like?
go.
Oh, no, but what do the facades look like? Do they continue to look like pole buildings? Well, that would be kind of lousy. So now,
Right.
now, not only have we been doing that, but now we're really gonna put lipstick on a pig.
I was thinking too.
Right, are we gonna
That's
make it
right.
look like brick walls? Are we gonna split it up into, like what, Andy's Electric did, whatnot, with different, flavors of fascia of some sort
Yeah.
on it, whatnot, to doll it up? Bottom
All
line.
of that adds money.
Bottom line is it's still a pole barn. And so if and when whatever this comes and I present it again to the infrastructure committee, you know what I mean? It needs to be emphasized that it's still a pole barn. And everybody knows my comment, whatever, you know, and I love pole barns. They're phenomenal. I have 3 of them. You know what I mean? They're phenomenal, but I'm not sure the pole barn is the right flavor, you know what I mean, of construction. I'm just being honest here, you know, for our emergency services.
Yeah.
And for everything we've got to offer here. You know, some years back, that tornado went through to hit the north side of Elk Lake, and it bounced over us. I have some really cool pictures of standing out in my parking lot up there, whatnot, watching that bounce over. That was really, really cool. But at any rate, it could have just come right over here and landed there, and then the time we need all of this the most, it's gone. We all see what, no matter what we do to try and do that, right? So I am in no way saying, and I told Scott to tell the firefighters too, I'm not saying we'd take a right turn here, but if we had no choice, my opinion is, if we have to look at this like we have no choice, we're not building a new building, this is what we're gonna do for the next 20 years, what would that look like?
Yeah.
Including the adding on that way.
So this discussion is simply, it's just, you just want to look at this, because personally, I despise the thought of remodeling this, because if you say this is Baldwin, I'm on planning and zoning, and they say, and look what we did is we became a city, and now we got this beautiful pole shed. It's just, it's such a bad thing, because you go to the ones where they built new town halls, and you look at it like, nice, 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 and Baldwin will have this. But this is just, if we do it, I just don't think this is big enough.
But you'll have a new dais to sit in the middle of, and that's a real pulpit. Yeah, it'll be,
On record, I'm for it.
it'll be elevated by at least 1 step from the rest of everybody else, so, you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
New building too.
AR plate, fortified with AR plate, so we can all duck.
I just figure if we do the addition for the room, it'll also drive the cost up, then when people compare
There
apples
you
to
go.
apples, they'll
Thank
say, you
you.
know what, going brand new only costs us a little bit more, let's go there, because if we're gonna truly compare apples to apples and say we're gonna build this at this size for this much, model a pig for this much, what do people say, oh, let's go for the lesser amount? Well, you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to baking bananas that are half rotted. You're not comparing apples to apples, so
Totally agree.
go back on a prior conversation.
Totally agree.
Um,
I'm done talking, sorry.
Oh, no,
I'm dragging this
no,
on.
dude, Mr. Chair, this is your meeting.
yeah. My observation is, this is, as far as staffing, this is a good for what we're currently staffed, but there's no room for growth
Correct.
within the city staff.
Oh,
And-
absolutely.
And for that reason, I can't agree with it, because, I mean, if we're gonna need another Kayla eventually. Where are we gonna put that person? Not to replace, but to add.
Well, I was hoping it was to,
There was another thought I had, but, I mean, there's no future growth with this plan.
Not without further additions.
Yeah. Or it's not a true future growth plan. It's just kind of Band-Aid.
Excuse me.
I'm done.
Commissioner Stoffer, I want to agree with you. All we're doing is Band-Aiding a pig, number one. And number two, if we go with this plan now, which I agree, there's not a lot of room for growth, if any, then 15 years down the road, 17 years down the road, it's going to be twice as expensive to add on again. So what are we really getting? We're getting screwed.
We'll have a bigger tax base to get money from.
Now I know you're being silly.
No, that's the opinion of about a third of the infrastructure committee, is to delay the new improvements to when we have more people to contribute to it, and it doesn't raise taxes as high.
I would
just
just,
saying.
I know, but the way to get growth is a nice building too. Sorry, you know, if I was gonna buy a house, I would wanna know, what are the amenities in my community?
Actually, I had another thought, and that was, the comment on voting. As far as time, voting is split by population. So it's, right now it's a hard line, 169, but we have a greater population on the west side than we do on the east side, and that's, I mean, I do that side.
Okay,
So I take pride that we get people through quick and our line is good. So I could say, hey, it's us. But it's also based on numbers of people.
yep.
So that's why they get bigger lines, is because they have more people getting in line and it takes them longer.
But then why did we put the bigger population in the smaller space?
I think that's, excuse me, I think that's what the people are asking, isn't it?
Yeah,
Does the smaller population deserved it better?
I don't know, I'm just, that's what's been asked of me, is why was
That's a good question. We could.
the
we could-
larger population in this side, which is smaller and hard to maneuver through, and the smaller population out in the garage where there was a whole bunch of room and they could go like that? I'm just repeating what, I was here, I waited in the long line, I get it, and I was, okay. It is what it is, I voted and I was, but
It could be done. It would just take communication.
If you face the building, the east space
Yeah.
to vote is the east. You're also the east
That could
people.
be.
The west side of the building is the west people. And people aren't coming in and crossing. You just come in from here, you vote here, you come in from over there.
It could be done. We just have to sign it and communicate it really well.
we'll go with that. And like you say, people sign it. I'm just, as people have talked to me, I guess they find out I'm on the infrastructure committee and they have talked, that's one of the biggest items I have heard is
And that would be
the
the,
disparity in the size compared to the population, and why was that not, because it took so long to vote. I'm just repeating what was,
if I were on this side, I think I could get people through quicker.
okay.
However,
That either.
however, I live in precinct 1. I will not judge for precinct 1. I will not precinct my neighbors. That's why I'm always on 2.
Gotcha.
So, but I mean.
That makes sense.
I think if I were in here running this side, it would go just as smooth as the other.
Tell you what,
That's a
let's
point,
go back to Mr.
Anyway,
Swanson.
sorry.
Is there anything else you'd like comments from us on this?
No, that's it. And again, like I say, no matter what we do here, but what I'm thinking about more so is not necessarily what is the right thing to do, because I think I know what the right thing to do is, and I think all of this is gonna vet what the right thing to do is. But if I'm somebody who's called to an open house, you know what I mean, and say, how'd you come up with your numbers?
Right.
Oh, we just took a guess.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's a problem. So, you know what I mean? If we can, and I don't know that we'd go as deep into figuring out what this is gonna be as what Brunton has and the new building and or the fire hall at this point in time. But this is some ideas of some of the things we would need to do just to start. So this doesn't, well, and that number doesn't necessarily either, but it doesn't necessarily outfit the buildings, doesn't put all the chairs and those kind of things in it, whatever. That's gonna happen as well, you know what I mean? Those numbers we can do this kind of a thing with, whatever, I think pretty easily, you know what I mean? But the other part of this too is unless we have a piece like this, one thing that was thought was Stahl, was a builder, big builder, huge builder. To me, I'm thinking Stahl's gonna come in and give us a number for putting up a pole barn. No, they're gonna laugh. They want a 300,000 square foot, super Walmart. That's what they're looking to build. You know what I mean? So this is gonna wind up, they can quote it if they have the ability to do as such or want to. You know what I mean? But this is gonna be the structural buildings and Malacca lumber and, you know, those kind of people, whatnot, doing those kind of things. So we are gonna see a vast difference, I believe, in cost. You know what I mean, there. But I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think when it's all settled in and done whatever, you know, the right decision will be made. The numbers are going to prove that. But unless we have apples to apples, we could, you know what I mean, something for somebody to look at to say, yes, this is what we think we want to change this to. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. I just think it's good for the community, that's all.
Mr. Chair, just, I'm not gonna hash over a bunch of what's already been discussed, but I think the key is, and the mayor's correct in the fact of, when I serve on the infrastructure committee, you know, we would have an open house and we would simply bring a brand-new set of plans for a fire station to the public, you know, we're doing them a disservice to the citizens by not saying, okay, here's what we have on this campus, and for it to get to 20 years or 25, whatever number, you know, we're gonna have to do this, and this, and then in the end, you still have a bunch of this, and this, some pole buildings, some with some facade, some with whatever, you know, and give that number of X amount of dollars, and like, you know, who knows what it would be. I agree with you, you've gotta go this way. If you're gonna make this a 20-year building, you can't get by on what just, you know, this building would be. Sure, you know, your public works and things, but for the infrastructure committee to talk about, yes, we looked at both sides. We looked at the existing campus, what we can do within the constraints of the existing campus, you know, and then what can we do if we have at 45 and 9, we have, you know, brand new ground, you know, and here's what we can do with a new building. And we can get, because I'll guarantee that, and I applaud you for going to the fire department right away with the idea, so they can look at this. Because there's a lot of things, just me looking at this very quickly, that they can incorporate into the building that will be in the new building that should be into a building if it's gonna be here another 20 years. And what I mean by that is isolation of turnout gear and, you know, the clean areas and things like that because of all the the carcinogens that, you know, they got into or they get into and things. And we're much more aware today than we were 20 years ago when it comes to cancer and the firefighters. Okay, and the isolation of the turnout gear and things like that. And so I don't think they'll be able to do that in this design. Maybe they can, you know, maybe, but that'd be a concern of mine, you know, and to try to sell that to the citizens that, oh yeah, we can get by on this, knowing that they really couldn't. In my conscience, I couldn't do that, you know, as an infrastructure committee member. If this is gonna be a 20-year building, then I wanna make sure that the firefighters are taken care of, you know, make sure that today's staff is taken care of, and then what potentially could be 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you know, for city hall staff and public works. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, question. We're saying apples to apples. If we do a brick and mortar down on the corner and we're saying this is a 20-year building, that's not truly?
No, that one down there will be a 100-year building.
That's right, and that's part of the sell when we do the presentation is,
Yes.
you know, if we do this is a temporary 20-year fix, whereas if we spend that money, it's a 100-year building.
Correct. And this is why I say I think a lot of things are gonna vet themselves. 45 and 9 is a way better location for an emergency service, a fire department, if you will, than where it is sitting right here. You know what I mean? Logistics there. Again, like I touched on, we're really not coming or building any kind of a meeting room, community center, or rental, something like what the people would look like we would in the new building. You know, again, all of the things that Mr. West had talked about that the fire department literally needs, this is not a want anymore. This is the stuff that's an absolute need these days. What I talked about, knocking out a wall and above in the mezzanine and whatnot, and being able to rappel and do these things for training and whatnot, that's a want. You know what I mean? That's not the end of the world if we don't have that, whatever. But it would be very nice for them to have a training. If we can train on anything, that's a wonderful thing to do. But like what Bruce is talking about too, with the extractors, with the gear, whatever. I mean, during COVID, when we had COVID, literally every time the firefighters went out on a call, doesn't matter what the call was, they were contaminated. Their gear was contaminated. It was COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. So technically, they could not go on another call until their gear was sanitized, cleaned, right? So literally, now you got your daytime firefighters and evening firefighters, whatever, and they're usually not the same because everybody's home at night from their jobs. People are onto their jobs during the day. Anyway, right? So this became a real problem. And so what we ended up doing at that point in time with COVID and the COVID dollars and all the money, we bought a second set of turnout gear for all of the firefighters, right? And so now we need double the room to store all of this turnout gear, if you will. And literally, that's so they could turn right around in a different set of gear and go on a call, right? You know what I mean? And so that and alone in and of itself was an absolute necessity at the time. And to get 33 people and another set of turnout gear was $150,000. You know what I mean? I mean, this is just your Fleet Farm Carhartt jackets, you know what I mean? I mean, it's good stuff, right? So now we need to house that as well, and now we're talking about an extractor, and the fire department's got the possibility of a grant on another extractor and dryer, so they can double the amount of time, or cut in half the amount of time, you know what I mean, to do all these things. Well, anyway, right? Da, da, da. So there are many things, whatnot, that a fire department really needs that will all be addressed in the new building that maybe mostly can be addressed here, and then we'd have to have a discussion about, well, does mostly make it even feasible? That's why I want the firefighters looking at that to tell me, does that work? You know what I mean? And it could be a possibility. Then we're maybe thinking about something totally different. You know, now we're thinking about, you know, we redo this here, whatever, this here, and redo this building, and sell the fire department building or whatever, or turn that into the maintenance department, or just build fire hall. So,
This whole idea of the, you know, separation and containment of the fire stuff is a lot more complicated than just specialized washing machines. I mean, we're talking specialized HVA systems, pressurized sections of the building, et cetera. It's gonna be pretty hard to retrofit that to accommodate what needs to be done for the firefighters today.
I have another comment too, but Ed had his hand up first. Go.
In regards to the fire department, how does the infrastructure take into consideration the shared services with Blue Hill or Santiago or the other groups that we help service?
we hold the fire contract for Blue Hill, so we are the Blue Hill Fire Department.
Right.
That's one. And then we have mutual aid. Bruce should be talking
Mutual
about
aid.
it. He knows way more about this than me. But we do mutual aid again with Princeton and with Zimmerman. So literally, depending on the call, we could literally all get called out at almost the same time.
Right. Is that being considered during the infrastructure discussions for the fire department?
Yes.
Okay.
While they're considering this, but in the new building, there's actually potentially a stall for an ambulance. And that North Metro might have an ambulance station there.
North Memorial.
North, thank you. You know,
Their population is gonna be growing as well, and we're gonna have to support that.
those are being considered in the new building. One of the comments I had, and this is just for this committee, so you're aware, as someone who looks at these things on a daily basis, for me, one of the advantages of building new that it's harder to compare apples to apples because here we're just here. One of the advantages to the property at 45 and 9 is we are only using about a third, even if we set aside for new public works, we're only using a third of it, maybe a quarter of it. I was gonna say a third, but a quarter.
Maybe it's
That actually leaves us carrots to say, hey, we are here, here's a new downtown.
Thank you.
This is a new center building to build, a good looking, and we've got infrastructure or area that would be, it's part of our commercial area and our planning for marketing the city. And there's land right there that the city would be able to, I don't want to say profit on, that's not the right word. So I'm
Sell it.
looking at,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. You know, start with, these are the things, and this will be you guys. If we build a new building down there, new building, fire hall, the whole thing, everything we're talking about here, you know what I mean? What do we want around that building? You know what I mean? We don't want houses around the building. That wouldn't be too right with the fire trucks going in and out all the time and all the other things that are happening there. But what would be there? A little convenience store or a gas station or a tiny little strip mall? A what? Quick Trip? Yeah.
Sorry. Don't laugh.
Anyway, planning.
I'm thinking of
And
Cooper was
Mr.
like.
Chair, I
the Menards
apologize
there.
for hijacking an hour out of your meeting.
Yeah.
This was extremely good conversation.
very good.
You know what I mean? Because this sets everybody in a direction.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just one final comment. So this is going to the council next Wednesday for discussion.
If I can get all of this together, now we're gonna think about what does an addition that way look
Okay.
like. And then I'm gonna find out what the
Fire department.
firefighters wanna say about what needs to happen in that kind of an area. And I hope I can find the time to revise these cartoons by Wednesday, whatnot, to bring them to, well, and Kayla and Joan as well, and I also gotta get with the maintenance guys. You know what I mean? To put up a shell doesn't finish exactly what we're doing, what do we wanna put in it? So if I get all that together, then yes, if not, then it's gonna wait 2 weeks. So anyway, we're trying to move forward on this, whatever, and again, like I say, whatever we do to this, the final thing is gonna be, we're not comparing apples to apples, because they'll never will be. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, you'd say, well, this is an option, we could do this, whatever, and this is what we got numbers on that would cost to do this if we decided we wanna do that. You know what I mean? We're all gonna be revisiting this in less than 20 years, you know what I mean? But we all understand this. It's gonna be anyway, it is not that, or we
You
can,
have to give to the
for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna have to call this because we have a lot to go over and we might not be able to, we just want to do it too late. Okay, that leads us to E, old business, we have none. And then F, comprehensive plan update, our continued discussion for March 25th, 2026. So in your paperclip section, starting on page 16, we have about 10 pages to go through here. Anything you'd like to say before we start?
Nothing.
We'll just start with the.
Just start the reading hour.
Okay. We have a volunteer for the first paragraph, please.
I will start us off. Here we go. C, transportation. The transportation plan provides planning for integrated system that is related to the existing and planned land use patterns within the Baldwin and the surrounding region. Baldwin's existing transportation system consists of local streets, county roads, and US Highway 169 is functional and well-placed for efficient travel throughout the city. The city must continue to implement policies for a comprehensive transportation system in support of continued development and work with adjacent cities, counties, and the state of Minnesota on investment and improvements to regional arterial roadways for the long-term economic vitality of the area. The city intends the transportation chapter of the comprehensive plan to serve as a blueprint for making transportation decisions and investments concurrent with the future land use plan. Sherburne County Transportation Plan. Baldwin includes a number of Sherburne County roadways, including County State Aid Highway and County Roads. Sherburne County roadways in Baldwin are located and constructed to serve as collector streets within the community. Sherburne County adopted a transportation plan in November of 2019 to guide development and operations of the system of county roads in Sherburne County in coordination with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, adjacent counties, and local government jurisdictions, including Baldwin. The Sherburne Transportation Plan is incorporated by reference as part of the Baldwin Comprehensive Plan to provide for implementation of the functional classification system, access spacing guidelines, and program future improvement of the city road system within Baldwin. Reliance on county state aid highways and county roads as part of the collector street system within the Baldwin requires coordination with Sherburne County regarding ongoing development and increases in traffic and planned improvements. Sherburne County will have jurisdiction in any subdivision proposal abutting county right-of-way in terms of right-of-way dedication and required roadway improvements to relate planned land use and the city's own transportation system to that of Sherburne County. The functional classification established by the Sherburne County Transportation Plan for county state aid highways and county roads is to be indicated on the city's transportation plan map.
Questions anyone have? And as far as the second to last paragraph where it states in the very middle, Sherburne County will have jurisdiction in any subdivision proposal abutting county right-of-way in terms of right-of-way dedication and required roadway improvements. So like when we're talking 38, anything coming down that touches 38, it's just a minimum, 33 feet or whatever, right? Or how?
So, for example, Oaks of Battlebrook, when that was platted, it abuts County Road, County State Aid Highway 9. So, Sherburne County was able to say, okay, this is a future major collector street. We need 50 feet of right-of-way from the center line. So, developer, we have our 33 feet. You're going to dedicate the additional right-of-way that we're going to need for this future roadway corridor. They also have the ability to say, you're required to build turn lanes into your development so that you're not interfering with traffic going through on the collector street.
Excuse me.
Functional classification, anyone want to take that one?
I'll get it. Functional classification refers to the purpose each roadway should serve as a means of determining street width, speed limits, intersection control, and other design features. The intent of the functional classification system is to create a hierarchy of streets that collect and distribute traffic from neighborhoods to destinations within Baldwin or to regional roadways. Roadways with a higher functional classification, which is arterials and collectors, generally provide for longer trips, have more mobility, and have limited access, and connect inner city or regional centers in comparison with lower functional classification streets, which would be minor collector and local streets. Functional classifications are used in Baldwin Street Network as a comprehensive planning tool used to determine the design and relationship of local streets to other county and state highway systems. The following table establishes the criteria for the functional classification system of city streets within Baldwin. All right, the table is titled City of Baldwin, Street Functional Classification Systems Criteria. There's 4 columns. The first column, principal arterial, second column, minor arterial, third column, collector, fourth column, local. So the first item is place connections. The principal arterial would connect regional centers and business concentrations. Minor arterial would be interconnects major trip generators. Collector would interconnect neighborhoods and minor business concentrations. And local would be interconnects blocks within neighborhoods and parcels within commercial or industrial areas.
Dan, could you give us in layman's terms the first two, just to,
So we don't actually have a principal arterial roadway, that'd typically be an interstate. Because you're going cross-country with those. Highway 169 is a minor arterial. It's basically connecting Elk River all the way through to Malacca.
we'll never have the principal?
Right.
Okay, I was just wondering. Okay,
Keep going.
yes, please.
Intersection spacing. Principal arterials, developed areas are 1 to 3 miles, and developing areas 3 to 6 miles. In minor arterial developed areas, 1.5 to 1 mile. In developing areas, 1 to 2 miles. In collector, developed areas, 1/4 to 3/4 miles. In developing areas, 1/2 to 1 mile. In local, as needed for access. The next item would be connections. Principal arterial to interstates, principal arterials, and select minor arterials and collectors. In minor arterial to interstates, principal arterials, other minor arterials, collectors, and some local streets. In collector to minor arterials, other collectors, and local streets. In local to some minor arterials, collectors, and other local streets. The next item in the table, parking. In principal arterial, no parking. In minor arterial, no parking. In collector, restricted as necessary. In local, restricted as necessary. The next column, typical ADT.
Average daily trips. So
Average
number of
daily.
Vehicles running down the street every day.
In principal arterial, 15,000 to 200,000. Minor arterial, 5,000 to 30,000. Collector streets, 1,000 to 10,000. Local streets, less than 1,000. Last row, row width, ROW width. Principal arterial, 100 to 300 feet. Minor arterial, 80 to 150 feet. Collector, 66 to 100 feet. Local, 50 to 80 feet wide.
That's that right away.
Right of way, ROW.
Okay, arterial streets. US Highway 169 is a principal arterial roadway connecting Baldwin to the regional highway system and provides high-speed mobility to the Twin Cities metropolitan area and destinations outside of the metropolitan area. The Minnesota Department of Transportation has completed an upgrade of US Highway 169 to freeway status within the city of Elk River in 2025. Construction has been initiated on construction of an interchange at US Highway 169 and Fremont Avenue, County State Aided Highway 4, in Zimmerman. These improvements will facilitate traffic movement within the US Highway 169 corridor, benefiting Baldwin. As traffic continues to increase along US Highway 169 and development occurs in Baldwin, the city will need to remain in communication with Sherburne County and the Minnesota Department of Transportation regarding future improvements or access limitations. The city, for its part, should work to minimize any future connections to US Highway 169, particularly direct access from abutting properties, in favor of developing frontage or backage roads that will ensure long-term access for land uses within the US Highway 169 corridor.
Mr. Chair? Dan, didn't you just say that 169 was not?
Yeah, I looked at the map and it's a principal arterial roadway, so yeah.
He was lying.
Yeah, I like
So
it.
that,
So
should that,
we actually don't have any minor arterials designated.
so that this, it is a principal,
It
not a
is a
minor.
principal, yeah.
In
Dan.
Elk River, it's a principal, and as it improves coming up through Zimmerman, because they're taking those to the raised interchanges, in Baldwin, because we have direct access roads to 169, it probably drops down to a minor collector at that point, because it also then goes back to the ADT traffic counts on it. The further north we get, the less traffic we do have on it, and the fact that we have that direct access connection where we can cross.
Remove
Still?
remove the freeway situation.
Yeah, it's probably right on that line between minor arterial and principal arterial, but because we have, and as you notice, even as we're going further north, we get out of Baldwin, they're doing what they call the J-hooks
Right.
to try and minimize those crossings. That's right on that line between the minor arterial and the principal arterial, but
So probably minor arterial today, future principal arterial.
exactly.
No, and I understand that, I guess, Highway 169 in Eden Prairie is definitely a principal arterial. But I believe Highway 169 in Baldwin would be considered today a minor.
Minor, yep.
So maybe, should this be changed?
In the first sentence, instead of saying principal arterial, say a minor arterial, I think is.
Well, so Sherburne County has it on their transportation as a principal.
Okay.
And so we're saying where Sherburne County has jurisdiction or supersedes the city, we're reflecting their transportation.
But,
And we do want to reflect we could put a sentence in there that say it functions today as a minor arterial, but in the future as traffic.
I don't, debate, or in doubt
Right.
what Teresa said about in the future, and we all might believe that, but, if we're doing this, yes, this is for long-term.
Right.
But, okay, I'm not gonna argue anymore.
I think it just
I'll wait
goes
for
down to the fact that we don't want to add any additional connections to 169, whether it's a minor or a principal, and it's right there between. Whatever we do as a city and a planning department, don't allow development to add to 169.
Well, I just
And
wanted to
Sherburne
bring it
County
up
would
because
probably
Dan
have
said
that.
one thing, and then we just read
I was
something.
reading along too.
That's all.
Oops, I lied. I hope no one caught that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Because it is true, if you look at Rogers all the way up to
Sure.
33, everything is a bridge, there are no local.
Right.
When you get to minor arterial, the last line of the connection says, and some local streets. Once you get north of 33, all of a sudden you have turn-offs and turn-ons, so then that's where the actual classification of minor would then
Yeah,
included local then. You could.
could.
It's all three.
It's right there on the line between the
Exactly.
two.
So, Mr. Chair, if we were looking at changing on our map, the intersection of 303 and 305 to commercial development for our land use plan, is that going to impact the amount of traffic on 169? That it's going to, because right now it's just kind of a crossroad, but if we throw businesses there, it's going to turn into more of a high-traffic area.
You would probably end up with a J-hook or something that would, and Sherburne County would have jurisdiction over that versus the city.
Okay.
And or
MnDOT.
MnDOT.
Yep. So part of the thought there is those existing intersections are there, and in the land use plan, it references the fact that it is an offset intersection to the roadway, and there may be access limitations put in place, so that would be more of a secondary commercial location that's oriented towards the direction of traffic versus 9, where you have the ability to get off and go either direction.
Raising it because it could cause us problems later.
Okay, page 18, collector streets. Anyone want to take that?
I'll do it. Collector streets are designed to serve shorter trips that occur primarily within the city or nearby destinations and provide access from neighborhoods or other collector streets in the arterial system. Collector streets are intended to carry less traffic than arterial roadways and provide property access only on a limited basis. Collector streets within Baldwin are a combination of county state aid highways, county roads, and city streets. The existing collector street system in Baldwin is well developed in terms of spacing of these roadways, such as the development of new collector street corridors is not anticipated. The focus, therefore, for collector streets will be management and improvement of the existing system. With incorporation and a population of more than 5,000 people, the Baldwin is eligible for
Baldwin
Minnesota
City.
state aid funding for roadways. State aid funding is derived from the tax on motor fuel purchases within Minnesota and may be used for maintenance and expansion of existing roadways or construction of new streets. The amount of funding received annually by the city is based on the criteria established by the Minnesota Department of Transportation, resulting in eligible road miles that are then to be designed for specific existing or future street segments are allocated funding. State aid funding is implemented to encourage cities to spend its funding on roadway projects. The city will plan for future improvements to designated state aid streets and other city streets designated as collector streets are part of a capital improvement plan.
Thank you. I have a question for Dan in layman's term and explanation. Could you please give an example? The first paragraph, the fourth line down where it says collector streets within Baldwin are a combination of the county state aid highways and county roads. Could you give an example like 38 versus 9 versus 1 are like 9 is a aid highway, county state aid.
County
highway.
state aid highway.
And how about 38 and 1?
38 is just a county road,
Okay,
and what was the other one you wanted?
1.
1?
North and south, all the way from Elk River up to,
Oh, yeah, that one's designated as a collector.
okay. So when it states,
That's a county road.
so this county roads, the aid highway, when we get funding from the state, can that only be used on the ones that are actually literally, that said they're an aid
So
highway?
the county state aid highways versus county roads, that's the county state aid funding that they get from the state.
Okay.
They get a portion of it too.
Okay.
And then the city gets state aid funding for its streets.
Okay,
So anything on the transportation map that's included that is designated as a town collector street,
Okay.
that is just city jurisdiction, the city can use that money on those streets.
okay.
Don't we have to designate which streets are determined
Yes.
to be state aid streets and it's a certain percentage of the total road mileage, correct?
Yeah, it's
think
it's a
it's-
formula of
Yeah.
existing road miles plus population and existing versus future. So have your transportation plan map and it shows all of your existing streets. Those are your road miles, and then you can also designate future street corridors. For example, if you're gonna have future collector streets, you would designate those on the map so that when somebody comes to develop, oh, by the way, you have to give us the right of way for that street, probably build the street yourself. And that goes
Those
into it. You
state
don't.
standards.
Yep. you don't get as much money for the future streets as you do the existing ones. And then, so the state comes back and says, okay, you have so many miles of streets that you can designate as state aid streets. And then the city engineer works with that number, and there are criteria basically that a state aid street has to connect from one state aid street to another. And, or whether that, it doesn't matter if it's the US 169 corridor, a county road, or city streets. They have to, it's a connected system, so you don't just have gaps in it. And then that's adopted by the council, and then that determines the amount of money the city gets back to then apply to those streets. So as the council's working through some of these roadway improvement projects, they're designating the state aid money or mileage on those roads to garner the aid that they can then use to make those improvements.
Mr. Chair? Yes. Second paragraph, last line, the last three letters are allocated funding. How does that fit into the sentence? You know, the amount of funding received annually is based on criteria established by MnDOT, resulting in eligible road miles that are then to be designed for specific existing or future street segments are
Should be
allocated.
designated that are allocated funding.
That, okay, thank you. I thought, but.
Yep.
I thought it sounded funny too, but I wasn't sure why. So,
Okay. Local streets, does anyone want to take that?
I got it.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
All right, local streets provide access to adjacent properties within residential neighborhoods and commercial and industrial districts. Local streets are generally intended to be low-speed and designated to discourage through traffic. The city will consider undertaking a speed limit study that allows cities to establish local speed limits of less than the statutory 55 miles per hour limit in effect by statute for most local streets within the city. The city must concentrate on the extension of local streets in functional patterns as development continues. Connections between new subdivisions must be planned at not less than 1/4 mile intervals to ensure proper access and circulation off of collector and arterial streets. To facilitate circulation, allow for service and emergency access, and minimize maintenance, permanent dead-end streets terminating in a cul-de-sac are not to be allowed unless area topography or other physical site conditions warrant a dead-end street design or a thorough street is not otherwise feasible. A through street is not otherwise feasible.
Okay. So it kind of makes sense. We don't want any cul-de-sacs, dead ends or anything unless
Right.
topography or it's a reason.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was meeting with some property owners that were looking at subdividing their land. It's kind of a challenge here in Baldwin, dealing with when people want to come in and subdivide, because they either want to do the Oaks of Battlebrook, Meadows of Baldwin, 2.5 acre lots, maximize the development, or they want to split it up into larger parcels. Well, how do you plan to extend streets through these larger parcel subdivisions the more it gets chopped up? So it's something that, is becoming challenging as we're starting to look at some of these subdivision requests as to, do you plan for the ultimate ability to subdivide it down to the smallest common lot size? Or is it just, well, this is a large lot subdivision, so we're not going to be able to have connections. So.
Mr. Chair, second paragraph, last sentence, it's 4 lines long. Is there a better way to split that up?
And we can look at that.
Would be my recommendation. There's a lot there, and it kind of goes this way, and then it kind of goes this way, and it might make better sense if it were split up in 2.
Baldwin flows.
I'll let you.
Highlight it.
And then also first sentence where we've got residential neighborhoods and commercial and industrial districts. How about residential neighborhoods, comma, commercial and industrial districts?
Yep.
I think it reads a little better rather than and,
Yep.
back to back.
The last one is an string of.
Okay, the next one just shows, next page is just a map that shows us our principal arterial, county major connectors. Blue ones are the minor connectors. Then the local connectors and all that, you can see that legend on the left side as well as picture. So we only have one county over there on 28 in the southeast corner. County minor collector, we only have the one over there. So once again, they would be responsible if something needs to be done to that. Okay.
So this is really the existing map that's been in place since Baldwin took over planning and zoning. Reviewed it with the city engineer. They didn't suggest any changes, although as I was getting ready for the meeting tonight, 303rd Avenue between County Road 45 and 169 should probably be indicated as a town collector street, given that it does provide a connection between 169 and a county road.
That's true.
And does have cross access at 169.
Okay, so that takes care of the map unless anyone has any comments. That brings us to trails, page 20. After this, so we should be able to get through this.
We can do it.
Anyone want to take
My
the
turn.
first 2 or 3 paragraphs? Maybe the
If
first.
you want to take the first three, I'll take the last three.
Oh, perfect.
Trails.
Sounds good. Deal. Trails. There currently are not trails within the city, which can be
The and should not
Take
be.
out and.
sorry, considered as an element of the city's efforts to develop a complete street system to improve access and mobility within Baldwin going forward. Sherburne County has been planning for development of the Great Northern Trail, which has a regional designation through the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. This designation is significant in that it makes partners eligible to receive clean water, land, and legacy grants. Sherburne County is partnering with Mille Lacs County and the cities of Elk River, Princeton, and Zimmerman to work together under a memorandum of understanding to coordinate implementation of a master plan and shared associated costs of professional and technical services. Planning and development of the Great Northern Regional Trail began prior to Baldwin's incorporation, and Sherburne County has earmarked park dedication funds from subdivisions in Baldwin Township for contribution to the project. In 2020, funding was awarded through the Minnesota Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternatives Program to create connections between the Great Northern Regional Trail and pedestrian amenities in Zimmerman around public schools. Funding was awarded in 2023 from the Minnesota Department of Transportation Carbon Reduction Program to extend the Great Northern Regional Trail from its constructed end at Zimmerman Park to Fifth Avenue in Zimmerman.
You want to talk about the first three before I move on, if anybody has questions? Mr. Chair? Okay. In 2024, funding was awarded to add trailside. Okay, in 2024.
Funding was awarded to add trailside and trailhead amenities.
Okay, whatever you'd like, to add trailside and trailhead amenities between Elk River and Zimmerman through a partnership grant with Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trail Commission. Sherburne County, Elk River and Zimmerman are participating, and funding and required matches are based on percent of project costs in each jurisdiction. Design of this project will begin in 2026 with the construction program for 2027. In 2024, Sherburne County was awarded funding to construct the next segment of the Great Northern Regional Trail from Fifth Avenue in Zimmerman north to 283rd Avenue within Baldwin. This is funded through a combination of the Minnesota Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternative Program, local option sales tax, and park dedication fees collected from new subdivisions. Construction is programmed for 2028 at the same time, and reconstruction of 128th Street, County Road 45. The remaining portion of the Great Northern Regional Trail in Sherburne County, largely within Baldwin, requires additional study in order to determine an alignment that best meets the needs of the community. The Great Northern Regional Trail partners are working through what that study could look like and searching for potential grant funding to conduct it. The city must engage with the Great Northern Regional Trail partners to be an active participant in the study for the trail segment through the community. That one sentence seemed to be kind of cluttered.
Yeah.
So Dan, on the previous one that Teresa read where it said that Baldwin was not incorporated, the second paragraph, I think she read last two lines where it said, or that began prior to Baldwin's incorporation, and Sherburne County has earmarked funds dedicated for this. This one here doesn't say that, but it does say at the end that the city must engage Great Northern Regional Trail Partners to be an active participant, so that's how we'll get our,
Yep.
from this time forward, we'll get our
Right.
funding and stuff.
Yeah, Sherburne County's been to, I believe it was council meeting, to talk about the planning for that, but now that it's coming through Baldwin, obviously, the city should be at the table as part of those discussions.
Two items. Fourth paragraph, third line, it says Zimmerman are participating and funding and required. Is it
Right.
participating in funding and
In,
required
yep.
matches? Thank you. Fifth paragraph, second line, north to 283rd, County 9. That should be 293rd.
Third, yep.
Yeah.
Last line in that one should be as reconstruction of.
Same time
128th Street.
as reconstruction.
The last paragraph, is it grant funding to conduct it, or is that to construct it?
Conduct the study.
Okay.
Perhaps say the study instead of it.
Well, I'm just, I always, you're right, funding, you have to fund the study, but I always follow funding the study with constructing it, so there's
You could
usually the
add, yeah.
grants. Usually, for me, the city is paying for the study and then the grants build it.
Yep.
So that's where I
We'll expand it to say
misconnected, my bad.
this study and grants to construct the trail.
There you go.
Okay, the next page is a map of the trail, just existing, and then there's the proposed area. You can see the legend on the right. Okay, page 22. Left, oh, I guess we have more to read. Okay, there has also been discussion about developing a local trail system within Baldwin. A potential trail system in Baldwin should be focused on collector and arterial street systems to serve both transportation and recreation functions with specific attention for connections between activity centers or public facilities within the community. Constructing trails in conjunction with street projects also provides greater efficiency in terms of right-of-way acquisition, mobilization, and construction cost scale. Engineering standards for collector and arterial streets should be updated to consider right-of-way needs for trails to be acquired within subdivisions adjacent to collector and arterial streets to minimize future land acquisition costs. Any questions? Or do you want to take maintenance, please?
I can take it. Maintenance. Minimizing maintenance costs and providing for longevity for the investment in street construction, the city emphasizes quality street standard designs. Engineering specifications for construction of city streets are to be based on underlying soil conditions, reflects best practices, and are consistent with Minnesota Department of Transportation standards. The city engineer will recommend a review and update of the city's street standards as needed to ensure that Baldwin is implementing best practices in construction and reconstruction of its street system. The city will develop a pavement management plan to update annually as part of the capital improvement plan to schedule system-wide maintenance, preservation, and improvements of city streets. Through this phase approach, the city will be able to attend to problems to maintain street system-wide. Establishment of a pavement management plan is viewed as essential as the number of new streets continue to be built within the city to provide for ongoing maintenance in a physically responsible manner. An issue that must be monitored is any street that are surfaced in gravel either within developed areas or that carry urban volumes of traffic. While the graveled streets in themselves are in good condition, their inherent qualities do pose some detriments to the city. Specifically, such innate characteristics as dust, grade upkeep, and noise all serve to diminish the attractiveness of a typical neighborhood. A program to upgrade these roadways to paved sections design should be considered over time, either in conjunction with related street improvement projects, new development, or in response to petitions submitted by property owners.
Couple punctuation.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
On the middle paragraph, it should
Yes.
just be through this phased approach, not the through.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan, does the word designs need to be in that sentence in the third paragraph where it says a program to upgrade these roadways to paved sections? Shouldn't it just be, sections should be considered over time?
Yeah, we can drop design.
That just.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll do airports.
Thank you.
Princeton Municipal Airport is located adjacent to the northeast corner of Baldwin. The airport is operated by the city of Princeton and overseen by a 5-member airport advisory board appointed by the city council responsible for the financial planning, maintenance, growth, and development of the airport. Facility provides a single runway with an asphalt surface, 3,900 feet in length by 75 feet wide, with runway lights. Navigational aids include Beacon and NDB. Weather information systems include AWOSA, MNWAS, and SAT Video Weather.
Very nice.
I'll assume they're all spelled correctly.
I hope Princeton got it right on their website.
The airport serves private aircraft with 14 tie-downs, fuel service, and an arrival departure building that has a lounge, basic kitchen, 2 restrooms, a shower, Wi-Fi, and phone services. It sounds like a website. The airport allows tent camping on airport property in a designated area. The Princeton Municipal Airport is one of only 7 North Memorial Air Care locations in Minnesota, providing air ambulance access to North Memorial Medical Center's Level 1 Trauma Center. The Minnesota DNR firebombing operation is stationed at the airport in the spring. Development in Baldwin within designated areas surrounding the airport must adhere to the Federal Aviation Administration rules to ensure operational safety.
Questions or comments on that? Airports? Public transportation. Tri-County Action Program provides publicly funded transportation within the counties of Benton, Mille Lacs, Morrison, Sherburne, and Stearns. And
Spelled right.
service includes scheduled transit services between designated cities, which include Zimmerman to the south of Baldwin. There is also a scheduled service between Princeton and St. Cloud. Outside of scheduled service, TRICAP offers a demand curb-to-curb public transportation within the 5 counties for all ages and income levels for a minimal cost. All TRICAP buses are handicapped accessible. There is a Minnesota DOT park and ride facility located at 125th Avenue and Rum River Drive, County Road 39, on the west side of US Highway 169. Is that there by Burger King and? Okay. The facility includes no improvements beyond a paved surface for space for approximately 31 vehicles. As growth in Baldwin continues, the city should communicate with the Minnesota Department of Transportation about opportunities for additional park and ride facilities, particularly within areas planned for future commercial uses, which would provide commuter access to local businesses. Other transportation services include various private businesses, including airport shuttles, traditional taxi, and internet app-based services. 24, we have 2 pages left, we can get through these. Community facilities, would anybody willing to take the first couple paragraphs?
I will. Community facilities include those lands, buildings, and services that are provided on a public basis in the interest of or benefit to residents and businesses within Baldwin. Provision of necessary community facilities and services is the primary function of local government. These facilities include administration, public works, fire protection, police services, and schools. Parks and trails are also a community facility to be addressed as a separate section within the department framework chapter of the comprehensive plan. The provision of community facilities and services is a major determinant as to quality of life within Baldwin, and therefore it is fundamental that they be maintained, enhanced, and expanded as necessary to achieve this goal. Government buildings and facilities. All official government businesses, including administration, public meetings, and elections, is conducted at the City Hall and Public Works Building located at 239 128th Street. The property also includes the City Hall, and Public Works. A noteworthy concern involves, in terms of city facilities and services, is the City Hall and Public Works Building. Not only is the existing structure aged with significant code compliance and maintenance issues, the physical size of the building presents a number of problems by being too small to accommodate current administrative and public works staff and operations, as well as public-facing functions as city council and planning commission meetings. The city has acquired 30 acres at the northwest quadrant of 293rd Avenue, County 9, and 128th Street, County 45, and undertook an architectural space needs study to evaluate plans for a future administrative and fire hall building. The city council formed an infrastructure committee to review space and operations for administration, public works, and fire at the existing buildings, evaluate the prior architectural space needs study, and make recommendations as to how to proceed to meet the long-term facility needs of the city. This effort is continuing with undertaking of an additional study as to the factors involved in remodeling, rehabilitating, and expanding the existing buildings. The planning for future facility space needs ensures that Baldwin will continue to provide efficient and effective government services to the community. City buildings and facilities are a primary source of community identity and pride. The building and site plans for the city facilities should reflect a standard of development that the community expects to see mirrored by the private sector, therefore setting an example for new development.
Boy, didn't we just talk about that, Mr.?
That just hit the nail. It's kind of funny how we discussed that.
I should have put all of this after that. That would have been a perfect segue.
Yeah.
I think the first paragraph she read, the last line where it says, the provision for community facilities and services is a major determinant to quality of life in Baldwin. Therefore, fundamental that be maintained, enhanced, and expanded as necessary to achieve this goal. That really leads into the whole next thing, and the fact that we talked about that in that last 3 lines where it summed up our entire discussion, where it is a primary source of community identity and pride, the pride you have in a nice building versus something you're just repairing. It also does reflect the standard. How can we sit here and say, well, as a city, we just took this old building and made it look good, but we want you to do this and make yours look this way. And you want, they could literally, we can make them do that, but they can look at us and go, well, all you did was put lipstick on a pig, but yet you're telling me I have to do this, this, and this. Our discussion before, it is really great that this now comes up because it echoes exactly what we talked about in a nutshell, so.
One other comment in the first, the first sentence. Couldn't you just put City Hall, comma, Public Works Building and Fire Station located at 302 39 120th Street. Then scratch that next sentence. And the property also includes the fire hall.
Sure.
You put City Hall, comma, Public Works Building and Fire Station located at.
Okay, we have fire protection, police services, and utilities. Does anyone,
I'll do-
Bruce, want to do fire protection since it talks with the fire department?
Sure. Fire protection, Baldwin operates a fire department that provides fire protection services within the city, as well as service to adjacent Blue Hill Township and mutual aid response to fire departments in the region. Baldwin Fire Department staff includes a full-time fire chief, assistant chief, 5 captains, and 32 paid on-call volunteer firefighter positions. The ISO public protection rating for the subject area is 6/10. The Baldwin Fire Department is staged in a separate building on the same property as City Hall and Public Works Building. As noted above, the city is undertaking a study of its building facilities to consider long-term space needs for the fire department. Possible outcomes from the infrastructure committee study may include recommendations for extensive rehabilitation and expansion of the existing fire department building or construction of a new facility on property owned by the city on the northwest quadrant of 293rd, County Road 9, and 128th Street, County Road 45. As growth in Baldwin continues, the city should plan for additional building needs for staging fire equipment, as fire protection is dependent on pre-positioning assets to minimize response times. To this end, US Highway 169 is a physical barrier that can affect response times from the existing fire department building to areas east of the corridor due to limited crossing points and the volume and speed of traffic on US Highway 169. Currently 293rd, County Road 9, and Rum River Drive, County Road 19, are the only separated crossings of US Highway 169 available. Acquisition of land and construction of a substation to the east of US Highway 169 should be considered a future priority. Blue Hill Township is also planning construction of a new town hall and public works facility, which may also provide opportunity for Baldwin to pre-position equipment within the northwest portion of its current service area.
I just think that alone, just hearing that was really cool because our discussion, we talked about all that before it even came up. So it's really nice to know where our heads were. You had asked about what we serve and all that. All that stuff we talked about was answered, so it's really cool that we're actually thinking of this stuff before we actually see it. And that did actually echo a lot of our sentiments. So, anyone have any comments on that or anything?
Well, to be clear, Mr. Mayor, would you want in there where it says full-time chief? I mean, technically, it's not a full-time chief.
I was almost gonna shut you down right there, because we do have one person that functions as the chief full-time, right? So we have one chief, and he's always the chief. We don't have multiple chiefs or part-time chiefs or that kind of thing. But the way the pay structure goes, he's not getting paid a full-time wage. That's not his job, if you will. So they're all paid on-call firefighters, right? And so now Scott Case in this case is our, no pun intended, is our fire chief, right? And so, but he's not getting the wage. So he's a full-time fire chief, and the fact that he is the fire chief of our fire department, nobody else is. So there isn't anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's really working it as the amount of time as a part-time, and I think that's what Mr. West is
We
getting at.
just take out full-time and just say there's a chief, assistant chief, and the captains.
Yeah.
For the moment.
And then the other, I always call it kind of an oxymoron, paid on-call volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a volunteer, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
I would just put 32 paid on-call firefighter positions,
Sounds good.
because they do get paid per call. Technically, they're not.
It is up to 35 now as well.
Okay, police service. Willing to take that one?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Police service. The Sherburne County Sheriff's Office provides police protection services within Baldwin to the same level that existed prior to incorporation. The city benefits from the expansive resources of the sheriff's office to provide a high level of police services to Baldwin cost-effectively. This includes a substation located in the city of Zimmerman that provides proximity for staging resources near Baldwin and a sergeant rank liaison between the city and sheriff administration to maintain good communication regarding issues affecting the community. The city council will work with the Sherburne County Sheriff's Office, ensure appropriate levels of ongoing police services for Baldwin. There should be a 2 in there. As growth in Baldwin continues, there may be the need to consider increased patrol services through a contractual relationship. The arrangement of a contract between the city and Sherburne County Sheriff's Office would further provide Baldwin with long-term, cost-effective, and comprehensive police services. Continuation of police services through the Sherburne County Sheriff's Office further avoids the need for the city to incur costs for duplicative services that would not be to the same scale as the abilities of the Sherburne County Sheriff's Office.
Well, that would be something too, talking of police service, when we had talked about it a while back, is that sometimes police will settle in the fire department or this town hall and they'll do paperwork within the area. With this existing plan here, not having anywhere for a police, if they were to sit the next 20 years, have to sit in their car with more room, give room for the police to actually have somewhere where they want to sit. Just as far as trying to make this cost more and more and more so that people will look at that as their option. Just being honest.
I'm not talking about what's better or what's worse. It's just, I know everybody in the infrastructure committee is gonna get one huge boot up there if they don't have an alternative plan as well.
That's good.
This is just another idea. This is not the idea. But, and to your comments there, we would encourage the sheriff to sit there. We encourage the sheriff to sit here.
Yep.
He pulled into my parking lot, one of the sheriffs did whatever, and just sat there and did his paperwork, whatnot, and I went on and said, thank you, stay here all night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You guys are welcome here, absolutely. And also too with, as you had brought up, with the ambulance service as well. And so in a new building, I mean, if we do something, if we add on to this, there's maybe a stall that they could sit in. I know, and I say that so they could park inside, especially in the winter months and things like that, whatever. The partial, what we would do even with the new building, hopefully would try and do with the alternative, I'll call it that, let's stick with that. You know what I mean, would be like, the firefighters have a day room. Well, we would also have something similar to that, so the ambulance drivers, whatever, could go in and watch TV, have fridge, you know what I mean, just be here. The beauty of that is we now have an ambulance sitting in Baldwin the whole time. That would encourage as much of that as possible.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
second paragraph, third line, patrol services through a contractual relationship. Don't we currently have, should that be the contractual relationship? Do we currently have a contract with them?
No. So if we were well, yeah, we do, I guess in a roundabout way we do. But
Well, there's a prosecution agreement now, but.
Correct.
It's
But
not
as far as-
related to police services.
so,
So there's no existing relation, there's no contract at this point, so
other
This is
than verbal from the sheriff that we'll continue in the same manner we always have.
okay.
It literally was, if you're happy with the service that you're getting now, then we will change nothing and continue giving that service for no additional cost.
Okay. I would have assumed that we had a contract already, so that's why I
And
was
the
questioning.
contract that's in there, that states, if we do say, okay, we've grown to a point now where we want 2 cars, 24 hours a day in Baldwin.
That would be a
They'll
contract.
do that for us, no problem. But we are gonna get charged for that because it's very different than what their service is now.
Okay.
Okay, we have one.
I can read that.
section left, utilities.
I'll get that.
You get that? I'm really excited when you get to that last line where it'll take us.
Because I wondered the same thing. I'm like,
I'm looking for page 26.
I know.
Utilities, almost all development in Baldwin is served by private wells and subsurface sewage treatment systems for access to potable water and sewage disposal. It doesn't, okay. As of June 20th, 2022, Baldwin provides for permitting, inspections, and monitoring of subsurface sewage treatment systems previously administered by Sherburne County. The building ordinance includes a chapter establishing regulations for subsurface sewage treatment systems consistent with Sherburne County regulations, which are consistent with and more stringent than MPCA standards under Minnesota Rules, Chapter 7080 through 7083. There are 6 subdivisions within the city that are served with community sewage treatment systems that were approved by Sherburne County before the Baldwin enacted its own planning and zoning regulations. 5 of these systems are privately operated by the applicable homeowners association. Baldwin since 2016 a community sewage treatment system approved by Sherburne County for the Frontier Trails plat through a subordinate service district. The wastewater facility is operated on a
Contract basis on behalf of the city as a municipal utility.
If you only had it, you didn't read it, right?
The city no longer allows community sewage treatment systems through its zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance. The last paragraph for this section is natural environment conditions and the existing development pattern within Baldwin is problematic for implementation of municipal sewer and water utilities. There are extensive wetlands and floodplain areas within Baldwin that reduce the area available for development with extension of municipal sanitary sewer service and are physical barriers to such utilities. The existing land use pattern within Baldwin consists of parcels with an area of 10 acres or less, many of which are residential subdivisions with lots not less than 2.5 acres in area that are developed with single-family dwellings and detached accessory buildings. The limited areas of large contiguous tracts available for subdivision to be served with municipal sanitary sewer services reduces market attraction for development because of the overall smaller area available and added costs of either leapfrogging existing development or the difficulties associated with serving existing development. For these reasons, it is unlikely that Baldwin will ever seek to develop municipal sewer and water utilities.
Anyone have any questions on that?
How much of that did you change on the fly, the punctuations and things?
You'll never know.
I'm just asking.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating in the reading of that. Since we are at 8:45, we will, if anyone have any comments, we don't want to just rush out of this, but we did stop at every break. If anyone has anything to say, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll just proceed to the next one. Okay.
Are there any more?
Mr. Chair, so I think the intent is we'll have the fully revised final document for you at the next special meeting, with the intent of then setting the public hearing for the meeting at the end of May.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
End of May.
End of May.
I will be back for that one.
wait a minute, when are you gone?
You might be holding the public hearing.
Oh, wait a minute.
She wants to be sure she's on vacation too.
Oh, boy.
Yikes. Do I get to borrow your your gavel?
Both of them.
Yeah, you have both.
Yeah, borrow him yours so you can have two of them, yes.
Right?
Might need them. One to hit with and one to throw. Okay, G, City Council Liaison Update.
Here we go
Here
again.
we go, Mayor.
Nordwall, that's what we talked about before. Nordwall is one of these community developer, community septic systems. Dan has been dealing with builders. I got emails from builders and told them, okay, so Nordwall, very brief, 51 homes, started years and years and years ago. Nordwall Estates, it's on County Road 87, on the north side of County Road 87, just north of Fairview Shores Golf Course. Right, when it was started 20 years ago or so, ultimately that was going to be the Edina of Baldwin. So Greg Nordwall, when he started that, $500,000 construction costs minimum, 20 years ago. So couple of nice houses back in. Then in 2007, 2008, everything busted and he couldn't sell lots and he's passed away now, whatever. Throughout all of that, the design for that was they were gonna do it in 2 phases, well, 3. Phase 1 was a half of the lots, phase 2 was the other half of the lots, and then they had an outlot that could possibly be 15 acres, or it's 15 acres, but could possibly be 17 lots. Right, because remember, this is community, septic, whatever, they're all bunched together, right? Okay, so ultimately what the county had allowed to happen was they put in a peat system for this, whatever, for the first portion of the build, the first part of it. And that wasn't sufficient nearly for the first part of it, and it didn't even last through all of the commencement of the building. There's like 20 lots that are built in there now out of the 51, so it's not fully developed yet. Right, okay, and so, then what had happened, there was a strict rule, apparently in the very beginning, they'll finish phase 1 before they move into phase 2. Well, then he came and says, what am I gonna do? I can't sell lots, and da-da-da-da-da, goes back to the county. We weren't doing the zoning at the time, but the county says, okay, if you got a buyer for some of the lots in phase 2, okay, you can start selling those as well, whatever. So they had a failing defunct system to start with for the first part of it. Then they had the second part that was allowed to start, to actually get hooked onto it. Now it has failed completely. And now in there, because most of the lots, many of those lots actually went back to the bank of Elk River just before they got their hands slapped. When the downturn hit and the housing bust happened, everybody got hurt. The Bank of Elk River they got stuck holding millions and millions and millions of dollars of property that they literally had to liquidate off of their books, whatnot, or the regulators, whatnot, are gonna come into them and take them to the cleaners. So a couple of developers bought several lots in Nordwall Estates, whatever, da-da-da-da, and now with all of that, because it wasn't working, the county at round about the same time said, there's a moratorium on building permits because the septic system's not up to snuff and you gotta fix it. Okay, so the problem is with the 19 homes, I think, that are in 20 homes in there now, whatever. We had to talk about this also leads into the subordinate service district, which you just read there about Frontier Trails. They were in the same boat in 2016 when they came to us. And there's no way that you're gonna get a mortgage company, whatever, to advance a mortgage to 41 different homes in this case, 51 different lots. Some of them are just PID numbers. There's not even a house on them yet, right? In order to pool those resources together to actually fix the system. 16, it was about $500,000 for Frontier Trails. We were knee deep in this whole mess. It was about $1.6 million to build the system for Nordwall. And there's no way. So the HOA, whatnot, came and said to the people that already had houses there, all right, you guys gotta pay for this. So one of them is a developer that owns 13 lots, but he's saying, no, all of you guys that are already in here, you gotta pay for all of this. And they're saying, well, if we do nothing else here now, whatnot, they haven't condemned our homes now, we'll pay something, but we're not paying the whole deal. So the subordinate service district, if you will, that was talked about for Frontier Trails, that's a financing thing. That's where the city can, jump in there now and procure the financing for a big project like that. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the city owns that project now in perpetuity forever. So the city, Baldwin, owns the system that is in Frontier Trails. And Frontier Trails are paying a utility bill. So here we go with some of the utilities. So we already have them, but only in Frontier Trails. So these poor people, the bottom line is a system that is designed, that the MPCA will allow to be built for 41 homes is not affordable by 41 homes. We all have septic systems, right? When was the last time you spent any money on your septic system? You might have had it pumped if you're following the regulations. You're spending $250 every 2 to 3 years, $300 if you got to do something to it, whatever, to have it pumped and looked at and do that. Frontier Trails, every one of them homes are paying $200 a month in a utility bill for that septic system, right? And so now Nordwall would be even larger. The whole point for bringing this up is they believe they have financing somehow, some way, whatnot, to build this new system. So the city has to have reassurances number one, from the engineer that this system would actually work, but even more so and that it's gonna serve 51 lots, not something subpar or whatnot that'll get them rolling and going again, if you will, right? And also too, that they have other things involved, like this outlot that I was talking about, right? So there's one guy that wants to buy this 15-acre outlot, right? HOA is good with it, city's good with it, but he's gonna have to have that replatted, because that is outlot A, in Nordwall Estates, and that was on one piece of plan that we saw that was good for 17 lots. So this new system either needs to be built for 51 lots, and this is sold to Charlie, his name is Charlie, this is sold to Charlie and actually taken off the rolls, or the new system needs to be designed and built for another 17 lots if they don't do that, right? So that's what the city is saying. You gotta show us all of this stuff before we'll allow building permits. So now what Dan has been battling, and what I got we've got builders here that say, I've got buyers for these lots. We gotta get going on building these lots. The summer's almost over. This is gonna, the funding, whatever, you know what I mean? And the city's stance on that is, no, the system will be approved by the MPCA by permit, because it has to. You'll have all your ducks figured out for outlot A, whatever that's gonna be, and however that's gonna house it, and the system will be built and in place and functioning, ready to accept any of these other other homes hooked onto it, whatever, before we'll allow the next building permit. There's an awful lot of mad people out there. We say, no, just let us do the building, give us the permit, we'll put up the house, whatever, but you can hold the certificate of occupancy until all the rest of that gets done. Yeah, you see the disaster this.
So the builder believes that the 17 lots in outlot A will be dumping their system into the $1.6 million new system?
I have
When it
had,
hasn't been designed to add another 17?
we don't know. So first of all, let's step back and preface this by, we don't have to get involved in this at all.
Right.
If they approach us for a subordinate service district, we have the ability to say no. Nope, we don't want to do anything with it at all. In the case of Frontier Trails, it was a little easier to agree to that because it was fully developed, right? So there was 41 homes in there, and anybody who buys a home, well, they're probably going to be responsible enough to make the payments, do this thing, done right? So fully built. Nordwall, they approached us to do a subordinate service district, or at least the homes that are in there now. But the guys the builders, if you will, that own 13 lots here and whatever, those kind of things, whatever. It's like, okay, if we do this, we're going to do this in a very different way, right? Because if the city does the financing on this, the payments start immediately, right? So, and this is going to have to be covered. In the case of Frontier Trails, they're all on it, they're all hooked up, they all existed, so 41 utility bills went out, 41 assessments. We would assess the house for the actual construction costs and bonding costs, whatever, and then they would also receive a utility bill. So in the case of Frontier Trails, there was 450,000, almost $500,000 divided by 41 homes, divided by 10 years. They were getting that assessment on their taxes for 10 years. That'll be gone in 27. Anyway, and then they were also now paying a utility bill for the maintenance and the upkeep and all of that kind of stuff. All of that being said, you come to Nordwall, the lots aren't sold yet. Who's going to pay? The cost for the system to supply the utility to all the lots is going to be there the minute the switch gets flipped. Right? So it's like, well, if we did that for you guys and that was going to case, then we're going to have signed agreements, binding agreements with all the lot owners. The one developer A or whatever his name is, 13 lots, you are going to get and pay 13 assessments, and you're going to pay 13 utility bills every month. And if you're not, it behooves you to sell them fast once this all happens and get this done, right? But this is what you're signing on to, because the likes of the rest of us cannot be affected by 1 penny for the cost of any of this. That's part of the subordinate service district, right? Here's the disaster these cluster developments are with the community septic systems. This one's about as bad as they come. Now, to answer your question, if the homeowners, if they can replat outlot A, that's worth, it's 15 acres, it was 17 lots that it was actually one, that was gonna be phase 3, right? And so it's there. Well, if Charlie buys it, whatever, and turns it into 15-acre spread, whatever, and puts his own septic system on it, great, the city's good with that, whatever. But it needs to be removed completely from the plat, whatnot, of the Nordwall Estates, because 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, Charlie's kid's gonna say, hey, we can subdivide this into 17 lots again, or whatever it is, da-da-da, and hook it up to the system, and the system isn't built big enough to handle that. Right? So that's part of what has to happen, no matter what. So if they can ultimately find their funding, right, and get the system in, and we can look at the permit from the MPCA that says, yes, it's good, and we can also look at Outlot A and see that it's been replatted, and all the things, that'll come through you guys. You'll know when it's happening, right? You know what I mean? That it's been replatted and this has happened, whatever, da-da-da-da. Then the city will say, yes, we'll start allowing building permits. Otherwise,
And the system's up and operational.
up and operational, right? And so otherwise, we can see this, well, what are we supposed to do, you know? They want to move in, whatever, da-da-da-da. We had another builder that decided to set up his closing, whatever, and then came in to get his certificate of occupancy. And because of other things that he had failed to do, the builder failed to do whatnot, the new people couldn't spend Christmas in their new home. And they tried to get at us for that, and that was his problem for doing that. Who waits 3 days prior to a closing as a builder and then tried to get your certificate of occupancy? Anyway, right, now add the sewer issues onto this, and this is Nordwall, it's gonna spiral into a big disaster, right? The other side of this is things like Frontier Trails and even Nordwall. Nordwall, that's 51 homes. So what do you suppose the MPCA is going to do with that? You know what I mean? Because in the case of Frontier, well, no, we talked about that. 8,800 gallons a day is what the actual design capacity needs to be for 41 homes. Not an engineer, that's what I was told. Right? Okay, but the MPCA says, you can't build it for 8,800 gallons a day. We're gonna force you, your plan's gotta show 10,000 gallons a day in flow capability, whatnot, because they want excess and this, that, and the other thing. But the critical thing there, really, and even in the MPCA's words, literally is, at 8,800 gallons, it's not MPCA regulated by a permit, but it doesn't need the monthly maintenance, the monthly testing and all of these other things, which a 10,000 gallon a day system does. So there's a whole bunch of added system in the case of Frontier Trails that they really don't even need. It's just the MPCA said you're gonna have to have these, and that adds just a ton of money into it. Now take that to 51 homes, put it in Nordwall, and the lots aren't for sale. This is why the city has taken a very strong stance on, no, we are absolutely not going to give you a building permit for anything on there until you got all your ducks in a row, right? So now if they get the funding and they do this, and we don't have to get involved with an SSD or whatever the deal is, this doesn't affect us at all. But again, we're also talking about property values, whatever, because those sizes of systems aren't affordable by the few houses. So hang on to your hat, we're gonna hear more about Nordwall. The whole point is when you hear on the street out there, oh, you're a planning commission, they wouldn't give me a building permit to build anything. Now you know why. Okay, referendum, the school's doing a referendum, right? We all want to know that. The actual election is May 2, and I have talked to the superintendent, and we are gonna have an open house back here in the maintenance building on April 14th. That is gonna be from 7 PM to 9 PM, and they're gonna bring their engineers, they're gonna bring their planners, they're gonna bring their finance people, school board members, all of these kind of things, whatever, and roll it out. And I said, you know, I told him, the one they did several months back, whatever, I said, that was an uphill battle. I said, this one, you're pushing it up a vertical cliff. You know what I mean? So they're gonna come do that, school board's gonna handle all that, da-da-da-da. There they are. May 2 is the election, April 14th is the open house, it's Tuesday. Let's see here, the council approved the accessory building ordinance that you guys suggested approval for, we approved that, and with no changes. We approved Andy's Electric, and then we also said, and go easy with the curbs and all this kind of stuff here, whatnot, because that's not something we're forcing in Baldwin, so let's help the young guy do what he's gotta do.
Can I correct you? May 2nd is cleanup, May 12th is the election.
Or May 12th, yes, sorry. Good. Okay, that is Andy's Electric. The Great Northern Trail, if you want to know about the Great Northern Trail and everything that's going on here, we can spend the next 4.5 hours, but just understand that when they say the city needs to get involved, as a township, as a city, we've been fairly reluctant to get involved because this is the Great Northern Trail, this yellow because it actually belongs to Princeton. This is Baldwin. But this belongs to Princeton, and the Great Northern Trail goes through here all the way down to Zimmerman, whatever, da, 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 da. You can see the remnants of it right behind the building here. When Burlington Northern abandoned the railroad, they offered it back to the homeowners if they wanted to take it back, and many of them did. Right? So throughout Baldwin, one of the only areas here, throughout Baldwin, parts of where they're talking about the trail where they would put it, people own the land now. People have built pole barns on it. So, right, you know what I mean? So there is no direct connection to the Great Northern Trail through Baldwin. And even with the county now, the county put a wide shoulder on 45 south of County Road 9. Because they thought, well, geez, it comes in here, we can follow that. But anywhere we get into a problem, we'll run it over to a wide shoulder on 45 and then we'll run it back where we can get it back. Trail, and we can bump it back to the shoulder on 45 and then bump it back over to here and whatever, right? So at any rate, when we talked about this, now this is the grant that was happening, whatever. So the city of Princeton got a grant. This came from the DNR, part of the Trails and Waterways, whatever, but came from the great DNR to turn this into the Great Northern Trail and an asphalt trail. This was all gravel prior to that. And so anyway, the contractor that they decided to do that came and says, we want a access permit to your road, 313th here. And I says, for what? And they said, for this trail. And I says, no, you can't. You're not going to access our road with your bike trail. That would be crazy. I said, but not only that, but we talked drainage concerns and all kinds of things here. Turned into a huge battle. Big battle. Oh, it was in the papers. Baldwin are a bunch of idiots. They're against trails. They're holding up all of this, whatever. Turned out what happened is the city of Princeton here, whatnot, was literally 2 months away from losing the grant. So they'd had it for several years, but they were 2 months away from losing the grant. So they threw a construct build or design build program at the contractor, whatever. And now he's doing the right thing by saying, we need to connect to your road. And I'm like, no. I said, we're gonna put a barricade at the end of this because 313th, that's the only connection between 45 and 169. 303rd, 313th, and then all the way into Princeton. Not to mention the fact that, well, we just approved Andy's Electric, which is on this road right here, but we also had Essig, who was a construction guy at the time, plus we also had the truck repair place here. So this road was heavily used with trucks and way longer story than I'm telling you, believe it or not. But at any rate, so what we did is we called in the reinforcements from the Illinois National Guard. Anyway, and called and the county whatnot, they came out and they said, well, tell you what, we will, we're gonna be redoing 45 here now north of 9. Before they did that. And what we'll do is we'll put a wide shoulder again on 45 here, and then they'll pay for the extra wide shoulder. So if you're ever on 313th and you come to 45, you see why it gets really wide on the west end. Is because the county paid for widening the road and putting what would quote be the trail on the north side of 313th from where the trail comes out of Princeton. Getting over to the shoulder of County Road 45 in the hopes that when that's done, the Great Northern Trail has access on 45. Then, thinking about the buy-in and all of this kind of thing, whatever, to that trail, the DNR, there was the 4R board, the Rum River Resources and Recreation Board. That was a part of that for a while. They came to us as a board, whatever, and said, we want to be the people that have an idea of where all the trails are, and we'll keep the information in one hub of stuff. We said, great, as long as you're never a monetary body. Well, you have our whole support until you become a monetary body. You suddenly now get to decide where dollars go. That's it, we're done. So ultimately, the dollars that the county had held, and we read in here, held back for this whole trail thing, whatever. First of all, when they redid 45 from 9 up to That's actually that two up there, but up to here, whatever, they didn't put the wide shoulder on there. So they're not even bought into this whole thing. And so when we started talking about doing actually some more stuff out in Young Park here, whatever, we wanted our trail dedication fees. We went to look at the trail dedication fees. And all of a sudden the county tells us, well, guess what? You know, we got to have a meeting and decide what, because they're 75% is what we get. 100% the county took at the time, 75% we get, 25% the county's gonna hang on to for these things. But we need to consult the 4R board, the Rum River Resource and Recreation Board. And the Rum River Resources and Recreation Board do it to the county and says, well, guess what? I know it's 75%, but we're suggesting that you hold another 10% back and making that mandatory here, whatnot, because, you know, we might have some things we want to use this. We immediately pulled our support for the Rum River Resources and Recreation Board because they said they weren't gonna do that, and they did. Number one. Number two, the county has no incentive, it would appear, even after they spent dollars, you know, on this piece of widening on 313. They didn't follow through with that anyway. And the board has always taken the approach, and the council, we're the same people, I would assume is gonna follow through here, whatnot. We are not gonna condemn any properties along here. You know what I mean, for a bike trail. Ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna get buy-in on eminent domain or anything like that, whatever, to get the bike trail. So when we think about the bike trail, it's a phenomenal thing. Bike trails are great, everybody loves them, but this one is fraught with disaster through Baldwin. The chances of that's what I said right here. I said it's never gonna go straight through there anyway. Because they'd have to talk to Essig here, and he'd have to sell it, and they'd have to get now the fear tags down here, and they'd have to sell it, and you know what I mean? And that's just not gonna happen. Those people that don't have a bike path in their backyards don't want the bike path in the backyard. You know what I mean? And so, and who's gonna force them to do that? Plus, when we get down here and we get barns pulled in. So, Great Northern Trail, that was it. And then the prosecution agreement, we talked about law enforcement. We had some troubles with that, whatever. We thought, shoot, just from the day that we incorporated, that we had everything settled with them, with the county, and apparently we didn't. We kind of found out about dog ordinances and dangerous dogs, dogs at large, these kind of things. We were finding out that the police were actually telling the people calling in, well, there's nothing we can do because Baldwin won't let us. All right, so anyway, that prosecution agreement has now been signed with the county, so all of that should have been taken care of now here, whatever. And we had the county attorney and we had the county commissioner here at the meeting, you know what I mean? And we're like, we're looking at you, you gotta get this straightened out, you know what I mean? Because this offer came to us, we figured it was all in place, and there's no way that we want our residents, whatnot, to call the police and the police come out and say, nothing we can do because the city won't let us. I'm like, that's bunk. Now, there's discretion on all the stops, you know what I mean? Okay, you know, if I have to come back here, I'm giving you a ticket next time. We get that, totally understand that. But to tell a resident, no, there's nothing we can do. The city won't let us. That's because the attorneys, whatever, hadn't gotten all things taken care of, but now they are. And again, I apologize. This was great conversation on all of this. Thank you. And I'll never do that again.
Okay, thank you very much. H, Commissioner update. Let's just go around the, Mr. Stoffren.
Nope.
Commissioner Newland.
Nope.
West?
Nothing?
I have nothing other than to say that I will be here. I just checked real quick. I will be here for that one in May. Public hearing to go over all of this. I just checked. I'm on vacation. So. Okay, that brings us to I, city staff update.
Mayor, or Mr. Chair, the next meeting, April 22nd, we have a public hearing for a shoreland variance for a garage addition onto a house.
Jay, any questions for Mr. Lick, by any way? Okay. Jay, miscellaneous information and communications. Included in our packet was January and February building permits. Thank you very much, Kayla. Thank you very much for all you do too, Kayla. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned at 9:14 PM. Got a lot done tonight. Very good.